Welcome, the chosen ones. Some folks will dig deep into your birth chart, your family line, even the way you carry yourself, all to make sense of why blessings keep chasing you. They have no clue what you survived. They just recognize that you were never meant to make it through the inferno. And now you stroll through life as if the flames were your initiation. Let's not pretend. You are not the talk of the town. You are a haunting they cannot shake. They trail you like you owe them an explanation. They gossip as if you cast some kind of spell on them. They grin in your face, but the moment the doors close, they are muttering, "Who is this being? And why can't I get them out of my head?" Now here is where it gets wild. A 2023 study in psychology revealed that the most unforgettable souls are not the loudest in the room. They are the ones who made everyone else feel transparent without lifting a finger. That is you. You did not just step into their world. You rewired the way they see everything. They cannot decide if you are the villain, the mystic, or some classified experiment. Meanwhile, you are over here focused on simple things, wondering if it is even safe to eat bread these days. But let us clear the air about one thing. Their fixation has nothing to do with your appearance. It is rooted in the deep stirring your existence caused inside them. So settle in, because in this footage we are unpacking precisely why the entire world is hooked, unsettled, and spiritually dependent on your being, and why they will never bounce back from crossing your path. Let us dive in. Number 1, you emit a frequency that memory cannot wipe clean. People find it impossible to forget you, and it is not because of any particular word you spoke or action you took. It runs far deeper than that. The way your essence branded itself onto the very core of who they are. You did not just pass through their experience, you left an invisible signature. That instant, you stepped into their world, into their story. Something shifted. Even if they could not fully grasp it in the moment, days, months, even years can pass, and they still catch themselves drifting back to thoughts of you out of nowhere. Not by choice, but because your presence flipped a switch inside them that cannot be undone. Most individuals cross paths, share a few dialogues, maybe spark a connection or two, and then carry on. But with you, it was different. You stirred something alive. You never set out to be unforgettable. You simply were, and that is what torments them. They cannot rationalize it. You were not the noisiest voice in the room. You did not pursue approval. You did not put on a show. Yet your genuineness, your composure, your core being, it scrambled their entire programming. Your atmosphere carried truth, and truth does not slip away. Not in a society constructed on deception. Some of them only had brief encounters with you, but that fleeting moment landed harder than decades they invested with other souls. That is the puzzle they are wrestling with. They have spent their entire existence measuring people by their looks, their credentials, their charisma, but you dismantled that whole framework. You did not tick any of their boxes, and still you became the model for a bond they did not know could exist. That alone sends people into a spiral. What is even more unhinged is how your absence carries more gravity than most people's presence. You walked away, or perhaps life carried you somewhere else, and yet it feels like a fragment of them is still circling your memory. You never demanded space in their world, yet you occupied space in their thoughts. That is power. Not the counterfeit kind that manipulates or coerces, but genuine power. The kind that cannot be purchased, explained, or erased. And the most baffling part, you were not even attempting to leave a mark. You were just existing as yourself. That is the source of their obsession. Not because you strove to impress, but because your spirit left fingerprints on places they did not even realize existed. Number 2, your existence awakened their buried shadows. Certain people had no clue how shattered they were until they crossed your path. You entered their world carrying a certain stillness, lucidity, or radiance that stirred something they did not even realize was lurking inside them. At first they were pulled toward you, captivated by your essence, perhaps even moved. But then something shifted. They began behaving erratically, jealous, irritated over nothing. They accused you of things you never said or did. The reality is, your energy did not wound them. It revealed them. Being around you pulled their suppressed insecurities, resentment, and darkness to the surface, and that is precisely why they cannot let you go. You were the spiritual smoke detector in the room. Your being triggered the silent alarm. You did not lecture, correct, or confront them. You simply existed, and that alone exposed every buried layer they thought they had hidden. They could no longer conceal their envy, their fabricated confidence, their hunger for control. It all started leaking through their speech, their demeanor, and their conduct. They could not fathom why they felt so unsettled around someone who had committed no offense. But you felt like honesty, and honesty cannot be tolerated by those residing in denial. This is why they behave as though they despise you, yet privately cannot stop tracking your every move. It is why they crave proximity to you, but also cannot stomach you. It is not because you are toxic. It is because they are spiritually sick, and your presence served as the mirror. You revealed to them everything they were unprepared to heal. You did not ignite their rage. You ignited their self-loathing. You did not manufacture their confusion. You roused the fragment of them they have been striving to silence for years. What scrambles their mind the most is how composed you stay while they are collapsing internally. You do not argue, plead, or defend yourself, and that amplifies their inner chaos. You have become the reminder of the emotional and spiritual labor they refuse to undertake. That is why they obsess. That is why they spiral. That is why they keep talking about you, trying to decode what you did to them. The truth is you did nothing to them. You simply showed up, and your existence alone dragged their shadows out into the open. Number 3, they cannot categorize you, so they demonize you. You bewilder people, and that drives them over the edge. They cannot pin you down, cannot slap a label on you, cannot decide if you are a genius, a danger, or something otherworldly. They try to decode you like a riddle, but every time they believe they have cracked you, you expose another stratum they were unprepared for. That is why they talk. That is why they lie. That is why they twist your name into something it is not. Because in their core, they sense you are unlike anyone they have ever encountered, and that frightens them more than they will ever confess. You do not conform to the boxes they have spent their whole existence constructing. You do not behave like the people they are accustomed to. You do not perform the roles they anticipate. They cannot tell if you are spiritual or street reserved or mighty, gentle or unbreakable. And the reality is, you are all of those things. You are multi-layered, and that makes them uneasy, because most people are accustomed to surfaces. You move differently. You respond with intention. You perceive beyond the obvious. You say less. But when you do speak, it cuts deep. And when someone cannot define you, they begin to feel powerless around you. So what do? They attempt to seize control of the narrative. If they cannot define you, they will try to dismantle your image. They will fabricate stories. They will project their own wounds onto you. They will exaggerate moments, twist your composure into arrogance, and brand your serenity as manipulation, not because it is accurate, but because it soothes their exposure. When someone cannot decode you, they will frequently choose to villainize you. It is simpler to paint you as the issue than to confess they feel diminished in your presence. The irony is, you likely did very little. You were simply existing. You did not show up craving praise or fear. You were just being yourself. Yet in a world overflowing with copies, your authenticity registered as a threat. You did not compete, but you made them feel as though they were losing. And now they are trying to shield their ego by turning people against you. Because if they cannot comprehend you, they would rather dictate how others perceive you. That is how profound their terror runs. You never requested this attention, yet you received it, not because of any action, but because of who you are. Number 4, you are not what happened to you. You are what emerged from it. You have endured things that would have annihilated most souls. And the fact that you are still standing, still thinking, still creating, still showing up, scrambles their minds completely. They witnessed what you went through. Perhaps they even contributed to it. They were certain you would never bounce back. In their worldview, no one could endure that level of betrayal, isolation, abandonment, humiliation, or spiritual warfare and still emerge whole. But you did. Not just whole, but elevated. That is why they cannot stop observing you. They cannot grasp how someone could survive what you did and not become bitter, lost, or shattered. What they fail to see is that you did break, but not in the manner they anticipated. You shattered patterns, you shattered generational curses, you broke out of cycles designed to keep you small. The previous version of you did not survive. And that was the point. What walks the earth today is not the same being who endured that agony. You became someone more robust, wiser, more spiritually aligned, and entirely unpredictable. That is what is shattering their perception. You did not merely survive, you transformed. Most people allow pain to diminish them. They carry it like a permanent wound, but you wielded pain like a compass. You let every betrayal instruct you on what loyalty genuinely means. Every loss taught you detachment. Every dark night sharpened your intuition. You did not walk away empty. You walked away equipped, and now your resilience speaks louder than any revenge could. That is what is driving them unhinged. You are walking around with your head held high, as if you did not just survive the unthinkable. They know what they did. They know what they uttered. They know how calculated the setup was. So how are you still glowing? How are you still at peace? How are you not locked up, laid out, or confined somewhere like they predicted? They are obsessed not because you are famous or flashy, but because you are proof that miracles are real. You carry a strength that cannot be purchased, taught, or fabricated. You did not just survive. You became someone unrecognizable to the suffering that tried to destroy you, and now they cannot stop staring, because your existence exposes how feeble their attacks truly were. Number 5. Your silence is not quiet. It is intel they cannot access. Your silence is not emptiness. It is loaded. It is layered. It is deliberate. People are not unsettled because you are quiet. They are unsettled because they know your quietness holds something they cannot reach. Your silence carries energy, meaning that destabilizes them. They do not know what you are contemplating, what you are scheming, or what you truly perceive, and that drives them insane. You are not loud. You do not announce every move. You do not plead for validation, yet somehow without uttering a word you shift the atmosphere. They are used to people who over-explain, who overshare, who spill their entire playbook in desperation to be liked. But you say less and still command more attention. Your stillness makes people feel transparent because when you do not speak, they are left alone with their assumptions, and their assumptions begin revealing more about them than about you. That is when paranoia creeps in. That is when obsession takes root. People begin wondering, what do they know? What did they see? Why are they not reacting? Why are they so composed? Because in their world, silence equals weakness. But in yours, silence is dominion. You do not need to shout when you already see the entire board. Your silence becomes data they cannot decode. Every pause, every step back, every refusal to engage feels like strategy. And it is. You have learned that speaking too much exposes your hand. You have learned that quietness shields your power. Your stillness is not passive. It is encrypted wisdom. They crave access to what is happening in your mind because deep down they know your silence is not random. It is refined. It is trained. It is sacred. They gossip to fill the void your silence creates. They invent stories to feel like they retain some form of control. But they do not. They are haunted because they lack the real data. And when they cannot decode you, they begin fearing what you are capable of. That is the truth. Your silence terrifies them. Not because it hides nothing, but because it hides everything that matters. Number 6. You emit a divine frequency they have never encountered before. There is something about your presence that does not compute for them. And it is not merely because you are kind, intelligent, or attractive. They have encountered charming souls before. They have witnessed beauty. They have collaborated with sharp minds. Yet none of those encounters ever rattled them the way you did. Because with you, it was not about personality. It was about presence. You carried something spiritual, something sacred, something ancient, and the moment they made contact with it, they sensed it deep in their bones. Even if they could not articulate it in words, their spirit recognized it immediately. This person is not ordinary. You operate on a higher frequency, a divine frequency. You do not merely speak wisdom, you embody it. You move with peace, but not the counterfeit kind that people use to dodge conflict. Yours is rooted. Yours is earned. Yours is the kind that cannot be disrupted by noise, drama, or manipulation. And that type of peace exposes everything chaotic in others. You walk into a space and suddenly people begin feeling insecure, nervous, or oddly emotional. Not because you did anything, but because the vibration you carry disturbs everything unhealed in them. You were sent into environments that were dark, toxic, or spiritually dry, not to blend in, but to elevate the frequency. People sense this, but cannot label it, so they try to downplay it, romanticize it, or worse, attack it. Yet none of that alters the truth. You carry something from the source. You carry something eternal. And when someone who is out of alignment with themselves encounters that kind of energy, it forces a response. Either they elevate or they reject you. There is no middle ground. Some people began questioning their entire belief system after crossing your path. You did not quote scriptures, you did not preach, you did not force anything. Yet your essence, the calm in your gaze, the depth in your voice, the knowing in your silence made them wonder, how do they know things they were never taught? You are a living contradiction to what the world told them is achievable. That is why they cannot get you out of their head. You were not just an individual. You were a frequency shift. You were proof that divinity walks in human form. Number 7, you made them feel seen and then starved their illusion. You made people experience something they had not felt in ages. Seen and not just noticed or complimented, but profoundly perceived, as though someone had finally recognized the fragments of them they had concealed. For a while, they basked in your light, mistaking your genuine attention for worship. They confused your empathy for admiration, your presence for permission to keep performing. You did not flatter them, yet you understood them. And for a moment that made them feel alive, relevant and significant, as though they finally mattered. But then the shift arrived. You saw right through them. Not just the version they wanted you to see, but the one they attempt to hide, even from themselves. The ego, the deceptions, the emptiness behind their bravado. You clocked it without ever calling it out, and when you pulled back, when you stopped feeding the illusion, their mask began slipping. They assumed your absence was merely distance, but it ran deeper than that. You were the only thing keeping their fabricated image alive. And when you departed, the fantasy began to crumble. That is when they started spiraling. Not because you said something harmful, not because you exposed them publicly, but because you ceased supplying them with the energy that made them feel real. Your presence was their favorite drug. It made them feel valuable, whole, admired. Yet it was not genuine value. It was borrowed light. And when you stopped offering it, they were left with the truth of who they really are. The pain was not in losing you. It was in being left alone with themselves. That is the part they will never confess out loud. You did not do anything to them. You simply stopped doing for them what they were too terrified to do for themselves, which was to look in the mirror and face the truth. Your ability to perceive people beyond the surface is rare. But your ability to walk away when the illusion starts demanding more than your soul is willing to offer, that is divine. And now the same people who felt so seen in your presence are crumbling in your absence because they are realizing the version of themselves they cherished most only existed around you. Number 8, you did not just disrupt their routine, you shattered their identity. You did not simply show up and slightly inconvenience people. You entered their lives and altered the entire climate. The way you spoke, the way you perceived through facades, the way you carried yourself, it compelled people to confront fragments of themselves they had been avoiding for years. They had constructed their entire identity on performance, on control, on carefully curated masks. Yet your presence cracked those masks effortlessly, not because you were attempting to expose them, but because truth has a way of disrupting anything built on falsehoods. You did not simply rearrange their comfort zone, you set it ablaze. You did not go along with their counterfeit peace. You did not engage in their ego games. You did not pretend to overlook their inconsistencies. You saw it all. And that level of awareness is dangerous to people who survive by pretending. You held up a mirror, not out of judgment but out of spiritual clarity. And what they saw in that reflection made them uncomfortable because it was authentic. No filter, no performance, just raw identity they did not know how to handle. They began feeling exposed, vulnerable, powerless, and that ignited a shift inside them they did not anticipate. At first, it registered as discomfort. Then, it transformed into resistance, and eventually, it evolved into obsession. Not because they despise you, not because they adore you, but because they are haunted by the version of themselves they encountered in your presence. You forced them to feel what it is like to be seen without manipulation, to be known without effort. And now, nothing else measures up. That kind of experience leaves a scar, not a physical one, but a deep emotional imprint. You're not merely another connection. You were a turning point, a soul jolt, an interruption to everything artificial they had constructed to survive, and even if they never voice it, you altered something in them. They may try to bury it, mock it, or deny it, yet the truth is, they are still attempting to rebuild an identity that can withstand what your presence revealed. That is why they cannot stop thinking about you. You are not simply an individual. You are a revelation, and revelations do not fade quietly. Number 9, they do not want you. They want what you awakened in them. This portion wounds them more than they will ever concede. They never genuinely wanted you. They wanted the version of themselves they witnessed when they were around you. You unlocked something within them, a fragment they had buried, a version they forgot existed. Being in your presence reminded them of everything they had silenced to survive. Their creativity, their voice, their purpose, their power. You did not hand it to them. You simply activated it, and now that you are gone, they feel the emptiness again, and it is consuming them. They declared they were drawn to you. They insisted it was love, yet if you looked deeper, it was not love, it was longing. You reminded them of everything they could be if they were not afraid, if they had not settled, if they had simply said no, if they had faced their demons. You were living evidence that someone could emerge from the fire stronger, that someone could live with integrity, speak truth, and move with purpose, even with a past. And that shattered their internal excuses. You represented the path they were too frightened to take, the healed version of what they abandoned, and now they observe you with fascination but also frustration. They cheer for you, but also resent you because you are doing what they were too afraid to do. And they sense that deeply. It is not about attraction. It is about awakening. You woke them up to the reality that their existence is not aligned with their soul. That is why they cannot stop watching, stalking, comparing, and analyzing you. They are trying to decode how you did it, how you broke free, how you stayed true. Yet here is the truth. It was not a secret. It was courage. It was choosing truth over comfort. It was going inward when everything outside was collapsing. And they know that. Deep down they recognize that is what it requires. But it is simpler to project love or hatred onto you than to take responsibility for the part of themselves they have neglected. So no, they do not truly want you. They want what you represent, and that realization, though quiet, haunts them every day. Number 10, your very existence shatters their illusion of superiority. They wanted to believe they were superior to you. They needed to. It made them feel secure, in control, untouchable. They told themselves you were beneath them, not intelligent enough, not refined enough, not significant enough. They measured you through shallow lenses, judging your background, your quietness, your struggles. Yet what they failed to see was your depth, your spirit, your divine assignment. You were not loud, but you were chosen. And now that truth is burning through every falsehood they constructed about you. Life has a brutal way of humbling people who misjudge what they fail to understand. The same ones who look down on you are now watching you ascend in ways they cannot explain. They mocked your silence, yet now you move with a confidence they cannot match. They laughed at your pain, yet now you wear wisdom like armor. They dismissed your presence, and now they cannot stop obsessing over it. That is what breaks them, not just your elevation, but the fact that it happened after they left you for dead. You did not just survive what they hurled at you, you flourished. And not through revenge, noise, or drama, but through alignment. You stayed connected to something higher while they remained tethered to ego. And now they are watching you become the person they swore you would never be. That shakes their entire sense of superiority because it proves that the power they believed they wielded over you was an illusion from the start. They wonder how someone they underestimated could carry so much weight, so much presence, so much influence without even trying. They wonder how the person they gossiped about, excluded, or sabotaged became someone so unstoppable, and it eats at them. Because now they are forced to face a truth they never wanted to accept. You were never beneath them. They simply lacked the vision to perceive who you truly were. That is why they cannot look you in the eye now. That is why they are suddenly quiet. Not because they are over it, but because your presence makes their false sense of power collapse. You shattered their illusion by simply existing with grace, resilience, and an anointing they will never be able to replicate or comprehend. Number 11. Your story has become their secret religion. They will never say it aloud, yet your story has become the blueprint they keep returning to. Your journey is the sermon they never requested, yet cannot stop studying. They observe your life unfold in silence, taking mental notes, replaying your decisions, your moves, your strength, not to celebrate you, but to understand how someone like you made it through what was designed to destroy you. They were convinced you would fade, break down, surrender. Instead, you evolved, and now they are addicted to your resilience. Your name gets whispered more than you realize in private conversations, in group chats, in places you will likely never set foot. You are the topic that gets passed around like a secret, one that carries weight. They claim they do not care, they pretend, they insist they do not watch. Yet you are the silent comparison in their minds when they measure themselves against who they used to be and who they still cannot become. Your story confronts them. Your growth shames their stagnation. Your presence, even from a distance, disrupts the lie they tell themselves about who wields the real power. They study you like mythology. They follow your updates like scripture. They track your wins, your movements, your glow-up, trying to decode your survival, your success, your peace, not because they support you, but because they secretly covet your formula. They want to know how you are still standing, still creating, still thriving when life hurled everything at you. And deep down they recognize the answer. You were built differently. You were anointed for this. Yet admitting that would shatter the illusion they harbor about themselves, so they keep you close in silence and distant in public. You became the example they did not know they required. The living proof that healing is achievable, that integrity triumphs, that the ones who were overlooked can become the ones everyone studies later. They do not post about you. They do not applaud you. Yet your life plays on repeat in their minds because every time they believe they have moved on from who you are, they are reminded you were the divine interruption they cannot erase. Number 12. They think you know a secret, but you are the secret. They keep trying to decode you as though there is some hidden formula you are employing to stay ahead. They assume you are clinging to some secret, a life hack, a connection, a shortcut, and they are obsessed with unlocking it. Yet the truth is, there is no secret. There is just you, your essence, your energy, your soul. That is what they are truly pursuing. Even if they cannot articulate it, you do not possess the answer. You are the answer. And that is what drives them absolutely unhinged. They study the way you enter rooms, how people respond to you, how you stay grounded when everything is chaotic. They pay attention to your timing, your discipline, your radiance. They believe there has to be something behind all of this. Yet, no matter how hard they try, they cannot decipher what makes you you. That is because it is not a skill set, it is not a trick, it is not a formula, it is your divine design. You are the anomaly they cannot decode. You shatter every rule they were taught. You did not network your way into power. You did not manipulate your way into love. You did not sell out to find peace, yet you possess all of that and more. They were told you had to chase, beg, compromise, yet you simply aligned, you healed, you trusted, you moved when God said move. That is what truly messes with them, because you are not supposed to be this unbothered, this magnetic, this protected, after everything you have endured. Yet here you are, standing tall, shining with grace, attracting things people spend years chasing. And what makes it worse for them? They cannot copy it. No matter how hard they try to dress like you, talk like you, post like you, or even pray like you, they still cannot reproduce the outcome. Because the power is not in the performance, it is in your spirit. And that cannot be duplicated. You were not crafted to fit in. You were crafted to disrupt. You are not the student. You are the syllabus. You are not the follower. You are the blueprint. You are what people are attempting to imitate yet cannot, because you do not just know something rare. You are something rare. And deep down, that is what they cannot handle. You are not holding the secret. You are the secret. Number 13, they are no longer curious. They are spiritually addicted. At first, they were simply curious. You were different, and they could not quite figure out why. You did not move like everyone else. You were not chasing attention, yet you had it. You did not try to impress anyone, yet people were drawn to you. So they observed from a distance, trying to understand what it was about you that caused the atmosphere to shift when you entered a space. Yet somewhere along the way, that curiosity morphed into something deeper. Spiritual addiction. Your energy offered them a taste of something they did not realize they were starving for. Peace that did not originate from pretending. Wisdom that did not originate from books. Presence that did not require validation. For the first time, they encountered someone who did not merely talk about alignment, but lived in it. And the impact was immediate. You did not just capture their attention, you activated something in their soul, something ancient, something genuine, and once they experienced that, nothing else could compare. Now they chase your frequency like it is a drug. They check on you even when they insist they are done. They absorb your words like they are gospel. They mimic your style, copy your tone, echo your phrases, hoping some of your energy might transfer to them. Yet it never works, because what you carry cannot be faked, duplicated, or purchased. You are connected to a source they cannot access with shallow intentions, and that frustrates them even though they would never admit it. You are not a trend. You are not a phase. You are a spiritual shift. And once someone has experienced your energy, they cannot unfeel it. They try to move on, yet regular conversations feel hollow. Surface-level people feel draining. Forced connections feel artificial. That is what transpires when someone touches real divinity. They cannot return to normal. They crave more of what you carry, yet they cannot locate it anywhere else. Because it is not what you do, it is who you are. That is why they are no longer merely watching. They are hooked, not on your image but on your energy, not on your status but on your spirit. You have become the high they cannot reach and the void they cannot fill. Number 14. Your presence was the divine examination, and they failed it. You did not enter their life by accident. Your presence was not casual. It was spiritual. You were dispatched as a divine disruption, a soul checkpoint wrapped in human form. You did not come to entertain or to blend in. You came to offer them a chance to grow, to choose higher, to confront their ego and evolve. Yet they did not recognize you. Or worse, they did and still chose to betray the very light that could have rescued them. They observed your purity and chose to poison it. They witnessed your kindness and attempted to exploit it. You offered them access to your wisdom, your loyalty, your energy, and instead of honoring it, they used it as a playground for their own insecurity. You were the moment the universe inquired, "Are you prepared for something genuine?" And they answered with lies, manipulation, gossip, and control. That was their response to sacredness. And that is why they failed. You were not just there for relationship, friendship, or support. You were the portal to the next version of their life. Had they responded with truth, with love, with humility, everything could have transformed for them. Yet they chose jealousy over joy, control over connection, power games over purpose. And now they inhabit the aftermath of a test they did not even realize they were taking until it was too late. Now the torment is not that you are gone. It is that your absence echoes with meaning. The void you left behind is not merely emotional, it is spiritual. Every blessing you carried, every door your energy could have opened, every healing your presence made possible is now sealed to them. They did not just lose an individual, they lost a divine opportunity. And here is what makes it worse. They know. They know they fumbled something heaven sent. They know they mishandled what other people would have prayed for. And now they observe from the sidelines while you rise, not out of revenge but by design. They are trapped in karmic loops, haunted by the realization that you were never just someone. You were the one, the test, the lesson, the shift. You did not need revenge. Their failure was the consequence. They assumed you were just another face in the crowd. Yet you were the divine disruption their souls secretly prayed for and their ego violently rejected. They laughed when you walked in, yet now they are trembling because you walked out. You were not dispatched to blend in. You were dispatched to expose, to elevate, to shift the very frequency of every space you entered. And while they squandered time trying to decode what made you so different, they missed the entire truth. You were the assignment. They failed. You did not employ force. You did not beg. You did not even retaliate. Your evolution became the rebuke. Your healing became the punishment. Your peace became the evidence. They did not just lose access to you. They lost access to the version of themselves they could have become through you. And now, while they spiral in confusion, obsession, and regret, you keep rising untouched, unbothered, and undeniably chosen. Let them wonder. Let them watch. Let them obsess. Because the truth is, they were never meant to decode you. They were meant to honor you. And since they could not, they now live with the consequence, watching the mystery they mocked become the miracle they will never touch again. If this message resonated with your spirit, do not forget to subscribe to the channel, like, comment, and share this footage with someone who needs this truth. The world needs more light, and your presence helps spread it. Until next time, stay divine, stay protected, and never diminish your power for people who cannot handle your purpose. If this message struck deep and ignited something in your soul, do not simply scroll past. Subscribe to the channel right now. Your support helps this truth reach the people who need it most. Like the footage if it spoke to you. Drop a comment below and let me know which portion resonated with your journey. And share this with someone who has been doubting their power or questioning their purpose. You never know, your share could be the breakthrough someone has been praying for. Stay tuned. Stay elevated, and remember, this channel is not just content, it is a calling. Tap in, stay protected, and I will see you in the next one.